Okay, so last speaker for the day. I'm going to share practical tools when it comes to social media. So first of all, who here is already posting? I know some of you all are. Okay, who wants to start posting? Okay, yeah, once. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to just touch point on two things that you can do inside Progreda in case you are already using them or are not. It's just practical knowledge that is from a whole year of me and my team using them. So for the last 12 months, all I did was focus on this. I wasn't focusing on the automations or anything else like that. I was just focusing on Andy's personal brand specifically, which is the social media planner and newsletters. And the reason I added newsletters here is because I do believe on that key part that Brian mentioned, which comes down to retention. Because the way I think about retention, and I had this discussion with Andy when I first met him, we were not even dating, we were not in a relationship or anything. He asked me one day, he was doing coaching calls, he had virtual assistants back in 2020, and he said, "What do you think is missing in my business?" And I said, "Well, where's your retention?" And I come from corporate, right? So I'm over here like, "Oh, you have high ticket. I see that you're making $10,000, $20,000. You pack out events. You have 300 people in front of you. You can send an email blast and you make money like that." And I was like, "Wow, that's amazing. But where's your retention?" And Andy was like, "What's that? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a salesman, you know?" And I said, retention is an easier way for you to make money and keep money. It is much harder to go get a random stranger to go buy from you. And he took that information, and then within a month, he started thinking of MRR, monthly reoccurring revenue. So that started back in 2020, and that's actually where Progreda was actually born around that time. Well, Update Media is actually the first business that we were in together in 2020, and then Progreda came in about 2021. The reason I share this chart, it has everything from when I graduated college with my degree in business. That was 2014. I just realized a month ago that was 10 years ago. So 2024 now, 2014. And if you would have told me, my 24-year-old self, that I would have gotten a business degree, I would have gone on a journey of corporate, I hit the titles, you know. I was a construction project manager. I went from sales to construction project manager, senior project manager, then I became a director, and then I went into the journey with Andy on entrepreneurship. 24-year-old me had no idea, right? And the reason I share this is I think it's really crucial to be adaptive and to be okay that the path or idea that you had like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 months ago may not be exactly where you thought you were gonna be, but that's okay. Because if I would have been attached to like, I'm gonna be a director, when I met Andy in 2020, I said, I'm gonna open up my own gym because I have a system for that. And then COVID happened. So clearly that was not in my cards, right? And I was also okay with making a switch from I'm an expert in construction project management. If someone gives me a house, I can flip it and make money in 30 days, but it's okay to learn a new skill. Progreda is not in my wheelhouse. Technology is not in my wheelhouse. I come from the world of I was in ugly houses and I had boots and jeans and I was not on social media. That was not my world, right? But it's okay. But what I did adopt from that is it's okay to be a continuous student. So when I met Andy in 2020 and up until now, I consider that the last 4 years have been my new university because I had to learn the online world. I had to learn social media. I had to get on Instagram. I had to understand what an automation was. I had to understand a funnel. So this is just to give you that kind of perspective. Some things can be born in 1 month. Some things take 10 years. Some take 4 years, right? But what has been consistent is I'm always looking to learn and try new things. That is why me and Andy go to events. We were just in Dallas last week. That is why I show up to events like this. And also this is why now we're empowering people to like share your story because your story will empower someone else. Now, last October, so we're actually in October now, Andy said, hey, we have a problem and we need a solution. and I am the problem solutions person. And he said, I have content right now, but I want to 5X it. And I'm like, we're asking for a lot here. Like, you are already posting 5 times a week, and now you want to do 25 pieces of content, and you're asking me to do this. Not only that, I said, we don't have our team. The reality was, at that time, we had no video editors, we had no other person but me, and we had no virtual assistants on this. So he said, by the way, you're going to do this, 5X my content, but don't increase my operational cost. I was like, okay, so I can't just go hire people, because that's easy. How easy is it? Who here has thought of, I have a problem, let me go hire? Who has thought of that? All the time, right? Like, let them figure it out. So that was a tough one. I was like, okay, so no hiring people, can't bring back the old team. I got to figure this out. So my next concern was, am I going to be doing this for 40 hours? He said, no, because you're going to take care of the house. So you got to cook and you got to do everything else and you're going to take care of the puppy. So you really can't do 40 hours. So I'm like, okay, so now I can't do 40 hours. He said, at most, think of it as like a 10-hour, 12-hour job. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, you can do it whenever you want, however you want. You don't even have to come to the team meetings. So I started brainstorming. It took me about a month to figure out that the only way we could get that 5X, not increase operational cost, not me working 40 hours, was we really had to create so much content and put it inside of Progreda and just have everything go out 3 times a day, 4 times a day. But here's another problem. Andy didn't have time to do content. So now I'm like, hey, sir, I figured it out. We're going to record 5 videos a week. I need you in front of the camera. I'm going to go record you, and we're going to have so much content. He said, yeah, I don't have 5 hours. I'm like, okay, so how can I get the content? You're not available for 5 hours. You're not available to be in front of the camera. I can't be Andy. So we came up with the solution. AI. Not AI yet. We actually came up with 2 solutions. Number 1, we maximized the time that Ivan, as you can see here, he's recording. He has 1 session with us a month for 4 hours. In that session, he produces 60 clips or more. Wow. 60 clips. That's on the low end. Another part of that is we realized that we were missing long form content, because this is, of course, amazing. This is the vertical format. Andy's talking to the camera, talking to people, generating intrigue and leads, but we did not have long form. And who here knows what the difference of long form versus short form? Best way I can explain it is short form, you get them for 5 seconds or so, and they're gonna know who you are, your name, and then they're gonna go watch something else. Long form is they build a relationship. They're gonna know your story, if you're married, if you got pets, like all of that. So we needed long form. So the solution that we came up with is we do 1 long form podcast, anywhere from 30 minutes to 40 minutes a week. From that podcast, I extract anywhere from 13 to 25 clips. So now we have Ivan's 60 plus my 20-25, and 1 long form can be chopped up into so many different things. I mean, when someone's talking for 45 minutes and a reel or a short only has to be 15 seconds, can you imagine how many clips you're making? And there's some weeks where we do 2, and that's the most. That's if Andy is traveling, if I'm sick, or if I'm like, hey, I don't feel like doing content that week. We have a backup for the backup. So I share that because it is possible to scale, grow, and systematize without hiring someone. Is it easy to hire someone? 100%, because we see people all the time. I hired this person, I hired this person. But what I like to say is we have a combination. Ivan comes in for 4 hours and he focuses on that. So he is 100% dedicated on that. He never fails. Every month he's actually like, hey guys, don't forget you have a session. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Because if Ivan wasn't reminding us, we might forget. That's number 1, because we travel a lot. We have a lot going on. But number 2, the podcast actually holds me and Andy accountable to have a relationship with our viewers. And just recently we saw that in Dallas. We were in Dallas. I was just in a random coffee shop. I wasn't even in the hotel. And someone's like, hey, you're Andy's wife. And I said, yes, I am. And they said, I've been watching your podcast. I have a wife too. He's like, my wife wants to work with me, but I got to figure out some things on the business. And I said, oh yeah, tell me a little bit more about her. So that is an organic type of attraction. And now we're building our viewers because they're following us along in our podcast. So this is just an inside example of how much content is going into the Progreda social media planner. Descriptions, I always say don't overthink it. Keep it short and sweet. The whole point is to get it out. We have the post going out. And actually there's a new update inside of Progreda where you can now connect multiple social media accounts. So when I first started this, Andy was not on LinkedIn. He is now. Progreda is on LinkedIn now as well. And it's scheduled all the way through the end of November.
Tell them how you did that. This is a secret. How you did that with no increase to operational costs.
The LinkedIn?
Oh, yeah. Like how you got a post set up for...
Oh, for LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Yes. So now that, fast forward to a year later, Andy said, hey, I need you to come into operations. Are you open? And I said, yeah, but who's going to take care of the content? Like, I'm taking care of this. He said, again, figure it out. Just don't hire more people. I'm like, man, this guy, this is hard. He's been one of my toughest bosses, like, till this day. So I went to go find a local intern at Northwest Career College. I said, hey, by the way, I noticed that you have business admin students. If marketing is an interest for them, would they be able to do an internship with us? We're an established marketing and software company, and we would love to have your students for some hand-on experience. Within a week, I got an interview. I got to vet her out. She came on. She was recording Andy on a phone, and she actually scheduled LinkedIn. Wow. We had her for 4 weeks, but this is the value of systems. I can't hand her an unprocessed setup, right? I just said, this is what I do. I do batch content, I do clips from the podcast, and then I schedule it out, all this, I handed it to her. I was actually in California when she started, September 3rd, it's my sister's birthday. So I said, her name's Tanya. I said, hey, Tanya, welcome to the team. I sent this via Loom. I wasn't here, I was in California. The Loom said, hey, Tanya, welcome to the team. You're responsible for LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, da-da-da-da. Here's what I expect. So for 4 weeks, she scheduled a ton of content all the way through November. Unpaid intern, local student. She was appreciative of the hands-on experience, but also, again, creative ways to increase our output, but not increasing our operational cost. It also gave me an opportunity to test, can I be replaced? Because I always say, like, I want to be replaced, especially coming from construction background. I used to manage over 100 flips. You cannot go check every house when you have over 100 properties. So she was our test to see if I can put any random person. Mind you, she was 17 when she started the internship. Her birthday was during those 4 weeks, and she's 18. 18-year-old, no business experience, no marketing experience, no social media experience, and she was able to do this. And she was able to learn Progreda. She was able to, like, join our team. So it was a test for us. Any questions on that? Yeah.
What was the training process like? What did you start with, and how did you train?
For her? Yeah. So it was a combination. So I did her first 4 days because she started right after Labor Day. So she started on a 4-day work week. I did 5 looms, literally like the week before, because it was a very quick process to get her on. I did 4 looms. One was to introduce her what we do, what our values, what our purpose is. The other one was on the technology, like this is what Progreda is, this is what it does. And then the 2 were just on mindset, like customer service, here's how you talk to people. Then after that, she went with Dana, she's our company manager, just to get her onboarded on the technology side. So we got her Progreda access, we got her a phone number, and we got her calendar, like set up and invited. After that, it was just a matter of looms. So a lot of our systems in the company they are looms with instructions, with examples. So all I had to do is replace the ones that were assigned to me and give it to her. And then that's also the case because if somebody also quits on us, we just give that task to someone else. So we do looms inside of ClickUp, and they go through a training. Yeah.
So about a week?
Oh yeah, her training was like 4 days. And then by week 2, she was like, this is kind of light. I was like, say no more, say less. And then I give her more tasks. But yeah, about 5 days is her training, maybe. And then that's just because there's some shadowing in there. We also sent her some recordings of like, hey, this is how we talk to customers. This is why we do this. Like a lot of mindset was in the beginning. But looking back, I think her training could have been condensed from 5 days to 3 days. Yeah, I think we were just kind of testing, like, how much knowledge do you have? By the end, she was helping Andy on like PowerPoint presentations, bunch of things. Like, she really caught on a lot faster than we thought, for sure. That's a good question, because I'm like on the onboarding side. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Reason I like to talk about this topic is because business owners have limited time, as I talked about it. Andy is like the perfect example of what a business owner with multiple businesses, I cannot have him for 10 hours to do content. So I do think it's important to outsource, which is where Ivan comes in. You record for 4 hours a month for 30 days plus. I think this is the part where it has to be scheduled. So this is scheduled ahead of time. And that way you have your focus and you're not in between a client call and then content, or team training, onboarding, and then content. We found it has to be at least 1 hour to 4 hours. All these 15 minutes, they're kind of hard and they're easy to miss.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
So subjects that you're going to speak about and videos you're going to speak about, that's obviously done prior, right? So like, let's say.
Oh, the topics?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the podcast, I'm 100% responsible for the topic and the questions that I ask Andy as the co-host. Yesterday was about how Thrive acquired Keep for 80 million. I do a little bit of research. I spent maybe 40 minutes just coming up with the general outline. For the 4 hours with Ivan, he comes up with that.
Okay.
And I'm super grateful for that, because that takes time. That is a lot of strategy, research time. Yeah. Good question. Also, ideally, they're not the same day. And the reason I mentioned this is because your recording day should be like you hop on, like, hey, I'm Andy, da da da. You do not want to do strategy on the same day. It's really hard. Your brain needs a creative time for that development. A lot of the things that I do is I just write down ideas as I'm cooking, working out, walking my dog. I have a running list of questions or ideas. And then on content recording day, I just execute those. Yeah. Problem number 2 is posting via your phone on multiple platforms. That would be crazy, right? If Andy and I were posting on LinkedIn on my phone, TikTok, YouTube, it would take so much time. So that's why we leverage Progreda. We're doing it all inside Progreda. Another key thing, as the manager of the content, it's important for me to see if they're producing. So when I had an intern, I don't have to ask her, are you doing your job? I basically check and I can see, are you following the schedule? Are we missing anything? So I like to go in there. My team knows I look for 60 days of content, 30 to 60 days. When we get under 30 days, I feel worried. Like, hey, what if something happens? What if Andy's sick? What if I lose my voice? So I really do hold them accountable by that dashboard. And that's where the value comes in. If you have a new team member, they don't need your password. They don't need to be getting on your LinkedIn or on your YouTube. They can just post on there. So it's a little bit security measure.
They log into Progreda and then they post.
Yes, they log in. You just have to give them a Progreda. Also, our intern didn't even have access to all of the sub accounts. All she had access to was the social media planner. And I think that helped her too, to just, you have one goal. Yeah, you have one focus here. You log in every day and you see this. Yeah, so it was really easy to get an intern to get started. I didn't have to be like, hey, come on this. No, just get on Progreda.
I do want to add though, if you do that and you're conscious about what if they post something that's not in line of your business or your brand, there's now an approval feature where
Yes.
they can post, do all the postings, and then you can just go and click approve, decline, approve. So you're talking about getting social media content for free and having, and I'm going to talk about the win from this, but at the end.
Yeah. So yeah, that is another thing to kind of go with what Manny asked, like how long does it take to onboard someone? Not that long. When you just give them a sub account, give them social media, you're not having to do a bunch of tech, onboarding. And yes, you can approve, which we have a step like that. Newsletters, I won't touch into that much, but if you haven't done them, I will say we have launched 2 successfully. We realized that there's a lot of launches and updates coming into Progreda, but not everybody's going on the Facebook community page. Like how you mentioned earlier, Nicolina, like not everybody's really following our page how we would want them to or engaging. So we said, well, we already have their email. We're sending a lot of text messages. So we already decided to do newsletters. And we see that as an opportunity for retention because we're letting them know what's happening in the Progreda world. We're promoting any new products or services. Our goal for the newsletter is not really to get sales. It's just to retain that relationship and to provide value. It's like way to communicate, hey, this workshop is coming up, this event, we were just at the Small Business Expo. And part of that is building brand as awareness and customer engagement as well. So newsletters, I would say they're just to keep your community up to date. Hey, I received an award. Hey, I will be in Atlanta. Hey, we're coming to Vegas. It's just a way for you to make a formal announcement. I think as business owners, we think what we're going through is normal, but to someone else, they're looking up to you. So you want to put your photos, like how many photos do you take and you're with a group? You went out to dinner, you went out to a lunch. Things like that you can definitely put into a newsletter. So here's an example. My VA, Nicole, actually did this. All I gave her was the parameters. I said, I want them to have like a did you know section, which is informing them of anything that's happening. Put some links for extra resources and a marketing tip. So this is actually a screenshot of the newsletter. I said we should have an intern spotlight. She's like, okay. So we got some photos. She does the copy and everything. And I said we should have a Progreda highlights. We can highlight power users. We can highlight events. So we already taking content. The whole thing is repurposing it and putting it into a newsletter. This was on the last newsletter, so the Meetup, and then our upcoming events. So we're just giving them more information, but it's packaged a little bit different. So there's some images, links, things of that sort. And that's it for me. Any questions? Yeah.
So the controversy between I know the phone thing and putting it on a programmer.
Mm-hmm.
How do you? I know you. I do get your content, but do you notice if it gets suppressed or not because it's sent from an automatic platform? And I mean that in general because I've seen it across different softwares.
I think it's hard on the posting. Yeah. I think the Instagram algorithm in general is like hard to get it, right? It's like one day this one goes viral, the next one doesn't do that great. We have sort of seen that some videos, for example, the ones that Ivan do can perform a little bit better than the podcast one. But I think it's hard to gauge it like which ones, because we are putting so much content. It's hard to know, was it the shirt that Andy wore versus it's because it came from Progreda? Like, yeah, it's like very hard to gauge. But I always invite people to do both because I'm a data person and that's what I look at. So we look at those numbers. Like we actually see our views, our shares, our comments, and then we do more of the ones that are working. Yeah, but that is a good point. And also the algorithms are constantly changing. So I do think it is hard to be like, I'm going to do it this one way. And then next month they launch something new. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's more important to be constant, for sure. That is over everything. Yeah. Awesome. Any more questions? Or that's...
questions? Good. I'll share with you from the, you can record this on.
Do you want the mic?
Sure, just toss it. I'll share this with you, that what's really cool. I'm not, believe it or not, I'm actually very much introverted. And the content wasn't really like, it was one of those things that I see that it has to be done. Can anyone here relate? Like the content, it just has to be done. But I didn't want to put a lot of my attention on it. Last week I was in Dallas. All last week I did not create one piece of content on social media, but I was active. You could see that I was active, not me personally, but the system. Next week, I'm in the Bahamas all week next week, and we got content already scheduled. Now, the consistency, this is what it's opened up for me. I started to realize this in the last 2 weeks. So there was a couple opportunities that came out that I planted seeds years ago. One is from a prominent motivational speaker. They do 9 figures. They do over $100 million a year. And one of their directors, I proposed a service to them, and they said no. They declined working with us. At the time, I had no content over a year ago, not much content. But I befriended them on Facebook. And over the last year, they've just been following me on Facebook, dropping seeds, dropping seeds, dropping seeds, dropping seeds, dropping seeds. The software Progreda is a white label software, and there are 90,000 agencies that have the same software. This prominent speaker has the same software. The challenge is they have no idea how to implement it in their business. They have no idea. They're making over $100 million in real estate and a bunch of other areas, but when the director was given the task, find someone who could fucking fix this thing and make it work for our business, I came top of mind. They sent a message. Total contract value last week, $180,000. And so like the cost of all this is free in this scenario, right? That's just one deal. Another deal, same scenario, total contract value for that one, $60,000. All last week, paid the whole 9 yards because of these seeds that we've been planting. So when they're scrolling on their Instagram and they just see us for 45 seconds, whether it has 15 views or 100 views, it's about the actual customer on the other side. I'm not looking for just the views, I'm looking for the revenue that it creates for my business. So in this scenario, when I told Lori that last year, we had to figure this out. She figured it out with Progreda and really maximizing, okay, let's get an intern records. And it's just consistency. And what I discovered is that consistency breeds trust. Where your customer who is interested in working with you, interested in working with your business, that level of, they're not committed yet, they're just interested, but when they see you online talking about the value of your product, the value of your service, and they're scrolling and they're looking at a cat and it looks funny, and then the next video is you talking about the value of your product or service, when they're ready to make that decision, they think about you, okay? I wanted to host this meetup to bring people together, showcase our power users, and this was something that Lori really decided a week and a half ago, so it was like 8 days ago, and then 2 days after, I had to head over to Dallas, and I was in Dallas all last week, so my team just kind of sent out some emails. I'm so grateful for each and every single one of you to join us and be part of this. I would love to hear some insight. Was this valuable for you?
Yes.
Yeah?
For me, I don't have the product method, it's very valuable to the point, because I work with